4INSIGHTS is a solution that aims to organize the data layer, bringing governance and operationalization in the data lifecycle of organizations, providing an efficient and simplified solution that extracts information from different sources, converting it into a big data format, and automatically building data lake. In this demonstration, we will introduce 4INSIGHTS by importing metadata from a MySQL database, creating the transformations that accelerates data extraction processes that are used to build a data lake in raw data format. In the visual interface, we demonstrate how we can enrich this metadata, including logical, descriptive names, and tags. Then we extract the data that are converted to a Parquet format and compressing them to Snappy. We encrypt and move them to the AWS S3 repository. We also demonstrated 4INSIGHTS by creating the outer table structures within Snowflake and AWS Glue so that they can be accessed by Snowflake without the need for coding. We introduced the 4INSIGHTS modeling interface where you can build any data model, ensuring governance and usability. Then, we demonstrate 4INSIGHTS loading the data lake framework information for this data model. At this point, it is possible to understand that 4INSIGHTS automatically generates ingestion codes by directly integrating data lake into the Snowflake database, and we conclude that all processing is performed by Snowflake virtual machines because SQL codes are generated and submitted to the platform, and 4INSIGHTS now works as an orchestrator of this code. This generated algorithm has the ability to load and reload data, keeping them updated with parameterizable frequency. And this is where we demonstrate workflow and data flow, which allow you to create dependencies and automate data flow. Finally, we demonstrate the self-service solution that automatically creates semantic cover based on the data model and allows a user to build data extracts that are written to files and tables in the database. These are the 4INSIGHTS features that we will explore in this demonstration: a data ingestion tool, the Lake Data Catalog interface and data warehouse modeling, the workflow, data flow, and scheduler interfaces, the data control interface and the load logs, and finally the self-service interface. To build Data Lake, 4INSIGHTS has a visual interface that is used to store metadata management and enrichment. In this interface, it is possible to perform advanced searches in which data structures are cataloged and organized in different environments: development, approval, and production. To speed up the cataloging process, structures can be imported by integrated tools or manually typed. 4INSIGHTS has plugins with ETL tools. In this demo, we will look at 4INSIGHTS by extracting data with Pentaho data integration and automating the data pipe to data lake. We will check the plugin by converting the data to big data format, compressing and transferring this data to the cloud. At the end of the process, we have the data available in Snowflake to be consumed. This is the visual interface of Data Lake where metadata is stored. In it, we can do searches. We can enrich the metadata, put comments, communicate logical names for each table, logical names for each column of the table, put comments, tags for each column, and tags for each table. Also, when we have a table that is partitioned, we can mark a field specifically so that the data is partitioned. When data is partitioned and 4INSIGHTS loads this data within S3, it creates a folder with that attribute for each date for this table. We have an example of partitioning by date. This causes data to be loaded partitioned. Inside Snowflake, when this metadata is created, it is also written and informed to Data Lake inside Snowflake that this table is partitioned. When you read and enter a date, Snowflake will read only that data folder. This ensures better performance and scalability. Inside Pentaho, we build jobs that are able to import metadata from a database and automatically build transformations, and then run those catalogs. Let's see how this works. Here we have a job, which reads the MySQL metadata, connecting with the database, delivers this information to the 4INSIGHTS plugin that connects with the 4INSIGHTS URL, and loads this information. See, there's no table defined here. As I run the job, it automatically creates a demo table and loads this information. This other job automatically creates the transformations. See here, I don't have the Snowflake-Data Lake folder. Here are the tables I want to create the jobs. I execute this transformation, automatically create the jobs, and load the metadata into 4INSIGHTS. With that, we have the jobs created for Pentaho. We can open these jobs. Let's open an example. Product, for example. If I run this load, I don't have the folder in Product nor the table in Product. When I execute, I get the data structure fields. Save, I execute, and it automatically loads the product table, created the Parquet file, takes information to S3, start the catalog that will create the structures inside Glue and inside Snowflake. With this, I have the external table created inside Snowflake. I can already create query inside. I have the file created inside S3. I have the file created inside Parquet, and if I go to Glue, I also have this structure cataloged and created inside Glue. With that, automatically I can already shoot query through Athena and access this data that was loaded. As can be seen, with 4INSIGHTS, it is possible to execute with copies of the process in parallel, and this ensures that the same writing and reading process occurs in parallel, ensuring greater performance and scalability. This is another advantage of using Pentaho to extract source data, convert to Parquet format, and take it to cloud. See how it works? At 4INSIGHTS, Pentaho shoots 2 copies, reading data and writing Parquet files at the same time, and the process brings greater performance scalability, as can be seen here in the process input and output. Data Modeler is the ideal solution for simplifying multidimensional modeling, idealized for the incremental construction of these data models, providing governance as it simplifies the location and visualization of structures. It has all good market practices and allows the drawing of dimensions, facts, aggregates, and tables of photographs. Allows definition of attributes, data types, relationships, primary key, transformation rules, data refresh rules, lookups, descriptive attributes, and aggregate functions. You can enable versioning history of cadastral data with one click, slowly changing dimension. Provides versioning control of multiple environments that at deployment time automatically creates the change installation package in the development, homologation, and production environments without the need to build installation packages. This is the visual interface in which we model data inside Data Warehouse. Here we have a general view of the model with all the facts in blue and in orange the dimensions. Here we see the area subjects. It's the summary of the model by subject, in which case we are analyzing a sales information, the sales model, the main sales fact, and the respective dimensions. Product dimension, date, customer, store, company are linked to sales, and sales in turn. Here we have the sales table model, which has a sales ticket detail level, its primary key, its attributes. Here we can physically or logically view this data model. Here we have the fact table and aggregates. Here we have the information in a lower level of detail, and here the information aggregating in the detail of the day, the sale by product, store, on the day, and also the month aggregation, where there is a transformation from date to month. 4INSIGHTS allows you to create aggregate tables, create dimension tables, and all lookups. In this model, we are presenting the hybrid modeling where the main item lookup is associated with all other lookups through the codes. That is, I can form the item table, get to the department, category, family, and subfamily table, that is, all the market structure. This is the most common model used by 4INSIGHTS because it guarantees a star schema model and at the same time with its hierarchies. But each hierarchy is associated with all higher levels than it, because from family we get to the category or department. In the subfamily we get to the family, the category, and department, and so on. If we analyze all dimensions, they follow the same logic. The date table has all the codes corresponding to month, week, quarter, semester, and year, and so on. If you click on a table and ask to generate the diagram, we can see the entity and relationship model. 4INSIGHTS has the ability to generate this model. Company binds to customer that binds to fact, the store that binds to fact and its associated lookup. Once you design a data model, how does 4INSIGHTS work to load information? If we are using the loading strategy through the data lake, it is very simple. Just enter a query, which reads the data in the data lake, external schema, delivers the information to the staging area table. When you select this option, 4INSIGHTS automatically creates a staging table area. If you click this option, it enables you to enter the query, and you can enter the query here, delivering data from the data lake directly to the staging area. This is where you define the attributes. You can import the attributes, associate the attributes. If you want to enable slowly changing dimension, just select this option. 4INSIGHTS creates automatically additional data surrogate key and versioning attributes. Once we have defined the dimensions and how each dimension will be loaded, we simply execute the process of loading and, based on these definitions, it automatically builds the execution codes. Let's now show in practice how to create a model from scratch. First thing to do is set an environment. So, I will add a new environment and call this environment Snowflake DEV. I will select the Snowflake environment as the source environment. I'll enable addition mode and copy the parameters that are defined in it. The only thing I'll modify is schema name. I'll point it to the DEV schema. I'll test the connection. Everything is okay. My connection is okay. I'll test connectivity to the S3 repository. Everything is okay, and I'll include the parameters. At this point, I switch to this new environment. Every time I start editing a new environment, 4INSIGHTS automatically creates the time dimension. It is default, but you can edit and modify whatever you want in it. Now I will add a company dimension. You add a new element. The first element to include is the upload. And at this moment, you can import, associate the attributes. Here, I have no date attribute that I could attach a data. If I connect a date attribute, 4INSIGHTS will consider this to be a foreign key. I could use a foreign key in the time dimension, but in that case, it doesn't make much sense. I will delete it. You can create an attribute from scratch. Here, you make the logical descriptive, the physical descriptive, and the data type, whether it can be null or not, and whether it is part of the primary key. And you can import the attributes from the data lake you already built, because there we already have tables and data types. I can import attributes more simply and simply edit, modify attribute names. This is a descriptive column describing the information of that dimension. After I include the dimension attributes, I need to say if it will be loaded by the flat file. I don't need to do anything. Leave this option checked. If I want to load it through the data lake, I mark this option. I can or not enable the option in transactional mode, and I say that I will inform a query. I already have the query here recorded. I will simply paste my query here and save the My Lookup, my upload table, and then I add the inclusion of a lookup that is in fact the dimension that will control the register. When I drag the attribute from here to here, if I hit the Shift button, I drag all attributes at once, or I can drag one by one, and that's it. The dimension is built. 4INSIGHTS. When I press this button, I approve the model. If I enable this option, 4INSIGHTS automatically creates the staging area tables. When I approve the model, 4INSIGHTS will create the table inside Snowflake. So, if we go to a development environment, I already have the STG company table, and at that moment, I can test if my script is correct by running this command. 4INSIGHTS is reading external schema, the DL company, and has loaded the registry. SelfService is used by users as an interactive interface that provides a semantic layer in which they can extract information without the need to write SQL queries. The result is recorded in database or archives and can be used by scientists or data visualization applications. The semantic cover is built automatically through the data model, which is synchronized with the database, as 4INSIGHTS is responsible for creating and managing the data structure, keeping it integrated and equalized. It is possible to apply filters, rules, transformations directly to data extracts. Prevents users from running Cartesian products as it inhibits unwanted queries. And all of this can be automated to ensure data availability across business areas. In this interface, we can observe and demonstrate how we can create a data set of information to be consumed by either data scientists or analytical tools. So, let's create a data set. Note that at this point, 4INSIGHTS already imported the semantic cover. We enabled editing, and here we already have the logical view of the tables. And here we can choose what we want to put in our data set. In this example, we bring here the value of cost, quantity, promotions, and sales. We also want to bring stock information. We bring the value of stock with and without taxes. And we also want to bring store information, store branding, store director, and the store itself. We can also bring other information, for example, the product category. Some information is inhibited to be included in the data set. Why? Because here we have the sales and inventory information for stores, but the distribution center does not sell. Who sells are the stores, so it isn't possible to bring this information here, and the data model, as you build it, it automatically already has these relationships. So when building the semantic cover, 4INSIGHTS includes this information and inhibits Cartesian products from running at this time. Here we can include filters. For example, I want to include the date filter, so I can go in the time lookup, filter by the time attribute, and create a dynamic date, for example, today minus 1 day, and ask to get the first day of the month, and add another dynamic filter saying it's today's date. When I shoot the launching process, 4INSIGHTS automatically creates the programs. Again fires against the database, which brings the result. Here, as my data is old, I need to remove the time filters and re-trigger the query, and 4INSIGHTS re-updates the data. It is responsible for creating all joins and accessing the data, and automatically bringing the information. And here's the process already executed with the respective dataset information with all the columns I chose. I can also export this information and write it to the database. So in this case, I give a name, choose which dataset and which name I want to give. I can create pre-execution and post-execution commands for my dataset, and I ask it to export the data. 4INSIGHTS automatically triggers a command that is submitted to the database to be executed to create the tables in question. Ready? Finished! And here we can already see the data loaded in the table. The workflow and data flow are responsible for creating data journey dependencies, orchestrating the entire process for the purpose of organizing and automating data routines and flow. It has an intuitive visual interface which allows the management of flows, sends alerts, announcements, and execute commands. The scheduler is for scheduling times and repeating executions, which can be used to provide near real-time information. The data loader and data engine is the algorithm that converts the multidimensional model into data intake scripts, loading and keeping tables up to date. The data quality is the engine that automatically generates the program that validates primary keys, relationship keys, and constraints based on the data model and builds tables for rejected data. The data control is the visual interface in which the execution results are displayed and the loading times, quality, reasons, and rejection indicators can be checked. Even when the data is rejected, 4INSIGHTS persists on revalidation to synchronize the rejected data if the problem that generated the rejection is resolved. An example is when a cadastral data customer type arrives late in relation to a movement, sale type. It is also possible to include a default value for registration data to prevent foreign key rejection. In this case, when a data arrives late, a record is automatically created. For example, a customer account that has not been uploaded but has purchased a product. In this case, 4INSIGHTS creates the register in the dimension with the customer code, ensuring that the entire purchase load is made. In this visual interface, we will demonstrate how 4INSIGHTS works with the workflow and data flow. Each one of these boxes is a data flow. The data flow, in this case, is running two dimensions in parallel. These other dimensions wait for this one to finish, and therefore this one waits for this one to finish. These dimensions only execute if this finish is okay, which is the flow finishing okay. After finishing the dimensions, if the executions are okay, execute fact. If it ends in error, I send an email. The facts all run in parallel, as you can see. Here we have the scheduler that you can set by intervals, a certain time of day, a certain time of week, or a certain time of month. Let's see how this works. I'm going to fire and load now. At this moment, we fire the load. 4INSIGHTS starts the execution with two parallel dimensions, which is company and date. And here we watch the flow running. Here we can look at the logs of execution. Here are the programs that 4INSIGHTS, reading the model, automatically writes for you and starts execution inside the database. We can see that 4INSIGHTS generates the commands and fires against the platform. That is, the processing of everything occurs inside the database. The processing power are the snowflakes of virtual machines and not within 4INSIGHTS. 4INSIGHTS takes the data model, converts it into scripts, and submits it against the platform. That's why 4INSIGHTS' solution is totally scalable and has the best performance of all, because it has the possibility to increase the performance according to the number of machines your cluster is running. Here, the company dimension is finalized, So now we have the date dimension and the other dimensions running in parallel. And we can track the execution of each one, the commands that are being fired at that exact moment, command by command, the load times and the volumes of records being executed, amount of record for each command executed, and the time it takes to execute. Here we can see some rejections of the product table. 1,175 records were rejected for not having the supplier code. The merging of the supplier and company code in the supplier table. This made this construction invalid, and the records were transferred to rejection table. So if we go to the R in product table, we can analyze which supplier codes were not found. For example, this code was not found and rejected multiple records. So if we go to the supplier table and look for this code, we do not have this code loaded. This was the reason for the rejection. As can be observed, 4INSIGHTS automatically diverts the rejected record to table and prevents this data from being loaded in the final table, ensuring referential integrity between information. In this case, we also had 1,738,428 records on account of the duplicate primary key. In this case, 4INSIGHTS rejects the records and saves them in the fact table. So if we go to stock store R in, which is this table here, we can verify that there are also the rejected records and here we have this rejected record. After the end, we have the flow finished okay. Another thing you can do is automate data exports in a very simple way. Include which dataset you want to export. Informs the format you want to export and the name of the object you want to export. Here you can enable grant inclusion or not to free access for a particular group or user. Then you just link the dataset. And you can also, if this process sends an error, send a message informing the problem that occurred and ready. Another way you can work with 4INSIGHTS is to upload the information directly to it. In this case, you don't go through Data Lake. How do you do it? You can configure it to enter directly a flat file without going through the staging area. When you configure to enter directly through the flat file, 4INSIGHTS enables you, inside the plugin, so that you, instead of configuring Data Lake, you configure the data modeler and retrieve models that are configured with flat file. In this case, 4INSIGHTS will retrieve metadata information from that module, just as it would with a data lake. But when you run the module, it does what? It generates a file in CSV format, reads the source information and generates a file in CSV format, compacts in GZ format, transfers this file to S3, and executes the process inside 4INSIGHTS. In this case, it will make a copy command to the table, retrieving the information directly from the CSV GZ file by uploading this file directly. So, there is another way to upload the information with 4INSIGHTS. Notice that this process gets very fast and goes directly through files. So we can observe how 4INSIGHTS works with Snowflake. In partnership with Snowflake, AWS, and 4INSIGHTS, we have created the best solution on the market. Thank you!